Okay. Oh, wait. Hold on. Is there a lag? Is it on now?
Yep.
Okay.
According to mine.
All right. So, welcome back, Balkers. It's, I know it's been a moment since we've been here. I think it's been a month now since we last recorded. And, but we are back, kinda. And, Joe, low key, Joe, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, enjoying my Super Bowl championship.
Yes. When last we were on, we were heading into the Super Bowl, and Joe's Kansas City Chiefs pulled it off. It was there was some doubt there for a little bit, right?
Not in our house.
You weren't worried? You can't admit the truth that you were worried.
I was not worried at all. I was confident.
Are you incapable of worry?
Oh, no. Absolutely not. I'm worried more than most people.
It was not Mahomes' best performance. In fact, I thought the MVP probably should have gone to Williams myself. But a win is a win, and again, being an Eagles fan, one of the few ex-coaches I still have some love for. I was happy to see Andy Reid win one. So that was congratulations. Guy. He is a good guy. He seems like a good guy.
I'm glad they won one early. Once you pay the quarterback, it's hard to keep it going. Patriots aside,
they have a nice young nucleus. In fact, the Eagles, in need of receivers, are looking at Demarcus Robinson as a possibility. And I was like, you know what, the guys look pretty good in clips when he had the opportunity. But you don't even have room for him. Like. That guy's a pretty good receiver.
Watkins is probably going to be let go. So,
well, then maybe he'll keep him. But still, a solid young nucleus. It's I'd be excited if I was the Chiefs.
We are.
Greg, GK, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm weathering my winter of discontent, and happy to be here.
Okay, well, maybe we'll get into that a little bit as we move forward.
What are you discontented about?
Oh, you'll find out.
The Chiefs winning the Super Bowl?
No, I couldn't care less about that. In fact, I was happy. Although I found myself hoping they would lose just so I could rub it into you, Joe. Ultimately,
I sort of assumed that.
Yeah. But ultimately, and my objective mind wanted them to win because I didn't want the Niners to have the same number of Super Bowl victories as the Steelers. So you did me a service. Thank you.
There you go.
Your boys winning their first measly Super Bowl served my purposes. Always know that.
It was not their first.
Oh, really? How many is that for them? 2 or 3?
2.
Oh, okay, good. Well, their second Super Bowl win served my purposes and Steeler Nation. Thank you, Joe.
There you go. And finally, Tim. How are you, Tim?
Tim
who?
Are you at an all-you-can-eat breakfast pancake bar?
All right, so Balkers, obviously, if you have listened to the show before, you would have realized by now that I'm not normally the one that does the opening. Tim has actually decided to step back from the show.
Mm-hmm.
No specific reason, no specific explanation of how long or whether it was a permanent decision or just a break, but he has stepped back. It seems leaning more towards the long term than the short. So Tim is no longer with Atlas Balked. It was his baby. He's the one that came up with it. He gathered us all together years ago and started this thing. And I may have a little bit more insight. I don't know than the rest of you guys as far as some of his thoughts and reasonings and we can get into that a little bit if needed. But so with that in mind, he has kind of passed on the torch. He's helped and shared with me all the back end stuff, the editing and recording and all of that. And I'll be honest, I kind of went back and forth a little bit over the last couple of weeks as to whether or not I even wanted to continue to record. Ending the show altogether was a thought, but I decided with the help of these two gentlemen to at least put this out. We decided to go ahead and get on today. We're going to talk about it a little bit, talk about the Tim stepping back and what we think that may mean and why it may have happened, and then also more importantly, importantly, really, where do we go from here? What is Atlas Balked moving forward? Does Atlas Balked move forward? Does it change? Is it a different animal? So on and so forth. So, I was there. Well, we were all there from the beginning, but I remember, again, talking to Tim about the possibility of doing a podcast years ago. A lot of the conversation between me and him had to do with learning and practicing. And really, when Atlas Balked first started, that's kind of what the plan was, to practice by doing this podcast about our league, which we, pretty much knew nobody would fucking listen to otherwise.
Have you gone back and listened to any of those early episodes where we break down every score? We were really, really bad. We may be bad now, but we were way worse.
Well, and so and I have a list. I think the situation with, I think it may be a combination of a multitude of things, and that's kind of one of them, right? Is the show direction. So again, when we started out, it was all about, fantasy baseball in our league, and probably, as you mentioned, to too much to our dismay. So, but it's kind of taken its own shape, the show, over the years. And, it's gotten a little humor in it with Greg just, sharing a story here and there. And then all of a sudden some emails, and we've added some games and so on and so forth. And now, there's some entertainment factor, right? As opposed to just a boring fantasy baseball show. But is it even a fantasy baseball show anymore? Or is it an entertainment show? Or is it, so that's one of the things that it is, it's become a difficult thing to describe, to sell, again, not that that's necessarily our goal, but ultimately I personally wouldn't mind a career in podcasting if I could figure out a way to make money doing it. So that, I think that might be one of the things.
Well, I think we are a fantasy baseball podcast during baseball season. I think, at least for me, my motivation to continue beyond baseball season was that I enjoyed doing this. I enjoyed getting together with my friends and making each other laugh and sharing our opinions on a variety of things. And obviously, during the baseball season, that's a uniting factor or something we all share in common is an interest in baseball, the news of baseball, the news of our league. But
true.
So what I'm hearing is that Tim couldn't stand that we didn't want to just be boring with him. That's my takeaway.
So another thing that I have on my list that probably, played a part is, again, all the background work, the planning and the editing. There's a lot more of that than even you two know, right? So definitely more than the listeners know. And Tim was involved in all of it. Mm-hmm. He was involved on the front end, the texts and emails to plan for the next show started, on Tuesday of each week. And, obviously he handled pretty much everything on the back end. So again, I can see, especially now kind of having that part of it dropped into my lap, I could see a situation where I still enjoy this part, getting on and talking to you guys and bullshit, making jokes and fun. But the rest of it does already, to me, and I haven't even done it yet, seem a little bit like work, right? So I could see that, had it been a situation where he can just jump on and have fun for 3 hours bullshitting and then he's done, maybe that plays something into it as well. I don't know.
Well, look at it this way. He told me one time that by the time he posts that podcast, he's listened to it 4 more times, all the way through, after having sat through the whole thing. That's a lot of hours of your life.
Absolutely. And there's
So I guess the first question, and not to terrify the listeners with this question, is, but do we continue?
Right.
I have my opinion, but certainly I will have no choice but to go along with the consensus of my remaining comrades. That's not a communist reference, show. Just a turn of phrase.
Actually, it was.
So
people were comrades before Karl Marx, Joe.
Yeah, right. So that's right. So that's a good question. What do we do from here, right? So do we, obviously, no matter what, it's going to be a slightly different animal, right, without Tim's involvement. But
I tend to think about it in I use correlated to like bands, because even from the beginning of the podcast, we talked, excuse me, we referred to ourselves as like a garage band type of thing, right? Mm-hmm. And so I thought about it, what did having Tim step away, what did that do to our band?
Well, it's like Neil Peart dying. You're going to put another drummer in?
No, I think it's more, I thought about that, Joe, but
it's... You're going to move on without a drummer?
No, I thought about it, and it's like, was it like, was it replacing a lead singer, or was it replacing, Liam Gallagher and Oasis, or, and really, honestly, I thought a lot about it, and what I concluded is it's really like losing Mick Fleetwood. Sure, the name of the band is him, and he is the drummer, but, I think we all can agree that the real talent was Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks and Christine McVie. So yeah, you're used to seeing Mick Fleetwood with Fleetwood Mac, but you could slip another drummer in there and nobody would know the difference.
No, I disagree. It's going to be a different thing no matter what you do. There's a quarter of the voice is gone, and yeah, most of the impetus to do it.
Well, in the aftershocks of Tim's departure with no warning, Jack and I exchanged some texts, I know, and my thought is if we do continue, that it might be fun to bring in, I also listened to Howard Stern. I thought about the Howard Stern show, and they lost over the years the person who sits in the chair next to Howard, and it's kind of like, Robin does the news and she's an active voice on the show, but for many years Howard had Jackie Martling on, and then he left, and then they had what's his name? Artie Lang, and then he left. But what they've done in the past is they've brought in different people to try and sit in that chair and be a part of the show and just see what happens. And there were flat moments, but there were also moments of fun that were just different. And so, we talked about Mikey, we talked about maybe Turd Neb the Magnificent, or some of our other guests who've been on the show, our guests like Justin and H.R. Courtney, and just having a occasional guest sit in. And to me, that sounded fun.
Well, it's funny. That's actually not a terrible analogy, because like many other things that have come up on this show, I remember listening to Howard Stern when it was just he and Robin.
Yeah. See, Joe, it's already getting easier to think about.
So I do like that idea of kind of using the fourth spot to rotate, so to speak, and have different guests on. I think it could bring a little extra variety to the show as well. I'll be honest. Again, part of my intimidation again is I was already, like I said, kind of helping out on the front end of stuff and on the creative end of stuff, and again, there was a little bit more going in probably again than you guys realize. So again, I don't me and Joe were talking about this earlier. I don't mind doing the work. I don't, and although this is going to be a lot, because before at least Tim, probably Tim did 75% of the work you guys, that the listener doesn't see.
Well, I'll commit to giving you exactly as much help as I gave Tim. How about that?
Okay, fair enough. And fair enough. So that is part of it. Again, maybe the structure of the show loosens up a little bit. Maybe we do focus a little bit more. I mean, the baseball season is coming up, and as Greg mentioned, not that it was necessarily a conscious decision, but we talked about it a little bit because we never ran the show past the season, right? So this was the first off season that we ran the show all the way through, and we didn't make it. Mm-hmm. Kind of like I was with my first wife for 10 years, then we got married, and we were divorced in 2. So, so we gave it a shot.
That's a strong warning to you kids out there.
That's right. Don't get married, period. You never know, right?
I can attest to that personally. Times 2.
Above and beyond furniture, bank accounts. Yeah.
Squared. Ruins things squared. Yeah.
Or you can do what I did and marry up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But then usually, you've just had to probably, I'm assuming, have to work to keep up the, your level of importance, right?
It keeps me on my toes. That's why I don't have time to help you with the podcast.
Fair enough. So let me ask you guys a question real quick. Mm-hmm. as a member of the talent and or as a listener, and if the answer is the same, so be it. Like, what do you have a favorite part of the show? Are there things that we've been doing that you enjoy more? Do you like getting into the deeper conversation about the things that are going on today in baseball? Do you like the silly ass games that we've created and we play? Do you like is there any specific, as a listener, if you were listening to the show, you listen to it because, and if the answer is because I'm on it, then so be it.
No, I mean, the things that I enjoy and the things that, acquaintances or friends of mine who listen, who enjoy it, it's pretty unequivocal. The games are amusing and those are fine, but I think I've gotten the most positive feedback on the kind of the condition of the league is interesting when we argue and we shit talk. I think that's fun, and when we we talk about our strategy for building our team and we bring on Dusty or Scotty or whoever, I think that's fun. And I get feedback on that it seems the banter is fun. But I think that the most feedback that I've received is when we talk in a pretty serious, although with humorous undertones, about the state of baseball, about our ideas for improving baseball with aluminum bats and, the attendance issues and, the financial challenges and disparities in the league. I think that's where I enjoy talking about that, and I get a lot of positive feedback.
Okay. I like that, Joe.
Well, it's interesting that you asked it that way, because as somebody who is on this, I enjoy doing it because I get a chance to talk to my friends. As a listener, I haven't listened to the last two because it just wasn't fun for me. So I think we've gotten away from what we started to do. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it has affected my interest. I mean, my favorite things are Greg's stories, listening to the three of you, now the two of you, break down some things about our league. You're both pretty smart guys, and I've learned stuff from that. The things to do with the league, I guess, are my favorite things.
Okay.
It was the whole point from the beginning of doing this. I don't, absolutely don't need to go into the technical detail of the day-to-day scoring the way we did at the beginning. I think that was smart that we got away from that. But
right.
Analyzing who's doing what moves are being made, things like that, or
power rankings. Yeah.
Okay.
I get something out of that as a listener, and it's fun to talk about.
Right. Okay.
Well, I think that's right. I mean, again, what we tried was just to extend the fun beyond the season, and maybe that was an error. I didn't know Tim would take his dollies and go home, though. That's just me.
So
maybe it was your meanness towards him.
Maybe.
Right.
So
maybe
I
drove him away.
I'll take this opportunity to I'm gonna play.
Wouldn't be the first time.
I'm gonna play a small clip from the last recording that we had. Let's see if maybe this has anything to do with any of it.
This sounds like a setup.
Hopefully you can hear this well.
We can only hope.
Oh, jeez.
So, Tim, when you send out the link to the podcast, or you've added Justin and Bill to that string?
Justin's been on it for probably a year, but I did not send it to Bill.
And you're criticizing me for not helping?
Oh, dude, he doesn't live on my fucking island. It's your fucking.
Really? I thought you included everybody. What kind of fucking producer are you? Oh, so boy, that really makes him feel welcome. You don't even send him the fucking link to the podcast.
I've done everything else, dude. Like, he's fucking linked in.
Maybe we'll start 2 weeks from now, because right now we're kind of bashing his picks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You didn't send him the link. You fucking have the link. You're fucking on the podcast.
No, I assume you sent it to everybody. You sent it to Dusty's mother, for God's sakes. I assumed you sent it to Bill.
Kind of a valid point.
Who's valid point?
You.
Yeah, Jack says I have a valid point, Tim, so back off.
He fucking sucks your dick all the time. Like, he doesn't even fucking disagree.
You send out one text.
I didn't have his fucking phone number.
Yes, you do. You've asked for it 5 times.
I don't suck his dick all the time.
I didn't ask for it 5 times. I fucking asked for it a couple
weeks.
What's
his email address? I'm like, it's the same email address you sent the link to. Genius.
Sounds like a lover's quarrel that needs to be taken offline.
Justin, shut the fuck up.
So that was part of the our last recording.
I'm reminded why I haven't listened to it the last two times.
I hate to cite bro code again.
It's this freaking made up bro code.
Tim's soft. I mean, is that what you're trying to? I think that's the point you're trying to make, Jack.
I saw this coming.
He sounded a little angrier than he has in the past, right there.
Yeah,
this reminds me of like the not to go with all these music analogies, but like the if you ever seen the documentary of the studio sessions of the recording of the White Album. There was one particular scene I remember where like George and Paul were like bickering about the way George was playing a particular section of I don't remember which song, and they were going back and forth, So what are you saying, that I'm too mean? Come on. We're all grown up here.
One more clip.
More importantly, who's our Yoko?
One more quick clip from last week, or from the last show.
Well, then, I guess since Greg won't, I think I'll give Bill a call since I have his number, and I'll fucking help him.
Oh, you have his number? Do you? Oh, good.
Yeah, because I had to fucking ask you for it. You didn't even give it to me. I had to reach out. Give me the number. Give me the fucking number.
You're on text strings with me and him that I've sent you to. You moron.
I'm the fucking moron.
At least you admit it.
Yeah, I'm a moron for fucking doing all this shit.
Oh, do fucking who? That's the only thing you got going in your life, Moscato.
Fuck shit. Fuck.
Oh,
damn.
Oh,
damn. Justin, consider yourself lucky.
You love this shit. You live for it.
Really? You're so fucking smart. You got that all figured out?
Yeah, that's right. I do.
Oh, all right. That's fucking great.
Yeah, I slipped to the Holiday Inn Express last night.
Who'd you fucking run out on then, right?
So,
wow, Greg actually drove him away.
He is a puss.
The truth is out there.
So Joe hadn't listened, and Joe wasn't there for that part of the show. So at the very least, Joe should have heard some of the exchanges. So,
but Joe, in my defense, the sound that was emanating from Jack's pie hole was laughter.
I was laughing. Absolutely. Yep. There was definitely
Haven't
humor
you ever
in there.
been in a situation where somebody is just cracking on somebody so bad and it's uncomfortable, and it's just that nervous laughter? That's what it sounded like to me. It's like, I really should say something.
No. I mean, Joe, you said you've been a fan of the Howard Stern show. Everybody knows that off mic, Howard is the sweetest, most friendly guy. And I've had many conversations with Tim individually, not on mic, and I would be shocked. In fact, I'm certain that he would attest to the fact that I'm always a perfect gentleman and kind and thoughtful and very sweet.
Oh, so yeah, and again, I'm not
our podcast demeanor.
Right, and again, I'm not saying that's the reason. I just, again, my guess is, again, it's a combination. I
say we blame Greg.
Yeah.
What's that?
I say we just blame Greg and
blame Greg.
Or thank him.
So so again, like I said, I think it's a combination. I think the direction of the show, like I said, not only have we gotten away from the fantasy baseball, talking about the league, and again, there's reasons for it, but we've there's been a lot more squirrels.
Baseball season ended.
Well, there's a lot of squirrel fucking and cancer jokes, and it's definitely
Joe.
We've definitely pushed the envelope.
I'm not going to blame you. I'm not going to blame you.
And again, it's a guess.
I will accept my share of the blame.
Right, it's a guess.
He's a grown man. He made a choice.
The other thing I do know is the Tim that we've talked about, and even Tim and I have talked about new projects, other things that we may do, and things that again, this show. Again, started as a practice run, and it's become something more than that. Maybe not much more than that, but more than that. But it's still it's a difficult. We've talked about it, how difficult it is to even explain the show, to tell someone to listen. You can't just say, "Hey, listen to this." You have to give them like a 5-minute synopsis and explain. It's got a weird vibe to it, and again, I some of my favorite things are some of the entertainment aspects, some of the emails and responses, some of the games that we play. But at the same time, personally, I enjoy the baseball shit. So So like I said, I know that he's considering new projects. I know we've talked about doing new projects, some that may be a little more specific and explainable, so on and so forth. So that might have something to do with it. Again, all the extra work that goes along with it. Again, that's kind of where I'm at with this one, right? With Atlas Balked. Like, in order to continue it specifically the way it was going, it does require a little bit of work, on the front end, the back end, time wise, so on and so forth. I don't know that I'm ready to do all of that work for something that, is just for us to have fun with our friends. But I enjoy doing this thing that is something for us to have fun with our friends. And what I'm hearing from you guys is that you enjoy that aspect of it, and the fans. And then let's be honest here.
What about the kids?
There's not that,
especially the ones with cancer.
And when I do look at the, God damn it,
it's something to every day when I'm getting up for my chemo, knowing that there's a new episode of Atlas Balked coming out on
when I do look at the listenership, I am impressed. There are literally people in other countries listening to us. Yeah. They have to be, but the most of the people that we know,
their image of what the United States is like.
Then we deserve presidential medals of freedom.
My point is, most of the people that I know that listen to the show are a direct link to Greg, right? Like, seriously. I mean, most of the emails and responses and communication that we get about the show are people that listen because of Greg, because Greg has reached out to them.
This has anything to do with what we're talking about. Can we get Greg a high chair?
Your camera's
I sit on my couch.
Your nose and your eyes and your forehead.
I sit on my couch instead of on a desk. I don't have a desk. I live in an apartment. Thanks a lot, Joe.
Oh,
for pointing out that you're better than me. You're a homeowner. Great.
He's trying to drive me away too.
See, he needs a target.
God forbid I rent. Sorry, guys. Listeners, I keep my laptop.
You say rent or rent?
I rent because I have a coffee table instead of a desk. I don't have a study, listeners. I have a 2-bedroom apartment. I guess next week I'll sit on my kitchen counter if that'll make Joe happy. I don't think it would bear my weight, but
I am leaning a little bit more towards Greg's a dick now, as far as the reason that Tim left. But
it's clear.
So ultimately, what we're kind of saying here is Joe, I think what you and Greg said was that the kind of the backstage insight to the league is popular. There's value there, talking about each other, and once we get going, there's a lot more of that. Obviously, once the we haven't been able to get Martha Monday into a conversation for a while.
Think about it this way:
I'd love to get Martha into a 3-way conversation.
You and Tim and
who's the third
and the other guys that were original members of the league. You guys know everybody.
Mm-hmm. No, I've never met LJ.
That's why I didn't include you in that. That's what I was going to say. For you and I, Greg, it's a way to have insight into how these other guys think. Mm-hmm. Because when Tim and Jack would talk about them and about a trade and making a trade with them, it gives you some insight into how they view things and what they might be willing to do that somebody else wouldn't. So that was helpful to me.
Gotcha.
Well, honestly, all kidding aside, I will make it easy. And this is in total seriousness. If you guys if you and Tim and Joe want to take it back to, redirect it to more of its original path, I will happily step away and defer to you guys on that and stay in the league, obviously. And if you want to have me on as an occasional guest, great. If not, that's fine too.
Nobody gets to quit except me.
So no, I will happily step away.
Do you think, I mean, other than the you're a dick part, like what did
I mean, I don't want to be the one that, derailed Tim from his enjoyment of doing it. The evolution of the podcast.
I think it has as much to do with the amount of time he was spending on it. That's my take from it.
And,
But you know,
right.
I've just tried to play my role. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I honestly, I think I was just trying to make more of a joke out of that than anything.
Yeah.
I think that probably has less to do with it than anything. Like I said, and it's not even the concept of the time and effort. As I said, it's the time and effort for, you know, something that's a play toy for us and our friends. Again, you know, we'll put, you know, the time and effort into something that, you know, has the possibility of becoming of value at some point. That's one thing, but this is ultimately, you know, a fun thing for us.
Too niche.
Yeah, right. No, yeah, exactly. To be able to sell or right, get people to want to. So again, maybe that's it, right? Maybe not you leaving, but maybe the three of us just scale it back a little bit. The league is starting up again, so we'll have that ability to focus a little bit more on it. And again, like I said, you know, there have been other projects that I've talked to Tim about and that we've talked about for a while, actually, that are a little bit more specific and possibly sellable and so on and so forth. Less entertainment, more geeky.
You and Greg should do a dating show.
It's interesting. It's an interesting idea.
I'll write that down. Yeah. So
That'd be a good one. Not that I would listen to it, but
I did receive, or no, not receive. I did see this is a total non sequitur. The most frightening dating profile photo ever, and I screenshot it. I could send it to you guys right now.
Is it a picture of me?
No. It's just, I'm not saying like frightening, like unattractive. I'm saying frightening, like bizarre and really like frightening, you know, and how odd it was. I was like, oh God, who would do that as a joke, or who would do that, you know, thinking somebody that's going to appeal to them. I'm looking for it. It's terrifying. So strange.
So in the meantime, maybe again, maybe that's the answer, right? So we keep going. We shorten it. Mm-hmm. We're not, you know, we're not worried about recording because 3 hours of recording means, you know, 3 hours cutting it down, and that's, you know, 6 hours of editing and so on and so forth. So maybe the show's a little shorter. Maybe we have a couple segments.
Sounds like your problem.
Yeah, right, exactly. So again, and that's part of it. No, like I said, that's kind of where I'm at too. I have other project ideas that honestly.
To take care of.
Yeah. But I have other ideas that could involve the two of you, you know, seriously, that I think might be more entertaining and sellable than Atlas Box. So at that point, do we, you know, continue to take this time out of our, you know, weeks to do this, or do we start doing something that, you know, has maybe more potential and you know, might be more fun? So my point is this: if we scale this thing back to what it was originally, and we add in the little bit of extra that we can, in other words, it becomes a podcast about our league with some state of baseball insight here and there when there is a need for it, like the Astros right now. It'd be fun to talk about. And then we insert the occasional Greg story, the occasional silly game, email, so on and so forth. But it doesn't become this huge monster of planning, this huge monster of editing on the backside. And then I'm having a little bit more fun with it. Now it's fun for me as opposed to work.
Do you think we got too tied into having 3 segments and having a specific amount of time for each thing?
We were trying to structure chaos is basically the way I see it.
I think Tim was overly structured.
Well, and
now we'll be free to do our thing and have fun. Jack, what you're saying sounds perfectly lovely and brilliant. You know, Tim was just stuck in his ways.
That is not true.
No, it's okay. I agree.
Jack, enjoy this right now while Tim is calling you perfectly lovely and all these nice things.
I'm not Tim.
Greg, I was as much a part of that, and that's what I'm saying. I was as much a part of that as Tim. I was part of the planning. I was part of the organization. No.
I agree.
So I'm going to use that organization and planning and so on and so forth, probably in some other project. Good. So while I'm doing that,
preparing your taxes.
Right, exactly. So in the meantime, again, in order for this to continue, and at this point, hopefully we will do that. It's just we're gonna scale it back a little bit. We're gonna get back to talking about the league and fantasy baseball and the state of baseball. And again, I want I personally, as a listener, I'll be honest, that's this part I like the least. I like the Greg stories. I like the jokes and the fun games. I like all that shit. So again,
well, the Greg stories are definitely a highlight.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
But those were always in moderation. You know,
right? We focused a little too much on some of that stuff. I started trying to create a little too much, and it got disingenuous. So again,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, back to us three at this point talking about the league.
Thoughtful analysis and rational plan. I thank you, Jeff. You are the voice of reason.
I appreciate that.
I don't like this, Greg, at all.
Right?
Why? You don't want to do what Jack's planning?
No, I just sense your sarcasm.
I'm offering my opinion. I'm offering my opinion.
Well, keep in mind, Joe, that in the new plan, we are going to have the fourth chair that we can rotate people in and out of so that Greg can attack them and then less of us, hopefully. So,
but Greg never attacks a guest.
It's a new show.
It'd be interesting if Tim came on as a guest when you go back to attacking him.
That would be interesting.
I attacked Dusty.
Well, the good news is I'd be able to be part of the interviews if we did it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely right. So you wouldn't miss stuff like last week, and then you'd be like, "Why Tim quit?" Oh, that's why. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So, but yeah, absolutely.
Shivved him in the ribs.
Well, all kidding aside, I think that we should let the listeners weigh in as well.
Absolutely.
And again, I truly have other projects in my life as well. And I will certainly step away and come on with the occasional story.
And just when I say projects, I'm specifically talking about podcast projects. So I have other projects too.
Well, I have a writing project that I've been working on. But what I'm saying is, if I'm the problem, I will happily step away.
Yeah. That if anything, like I said, I like the four of us together. I thought it worked well.
Me too.
I do feel like you and I work well off of each other.
I agree.
And I think Joe is phenomenal at the role that Joe chooses to play. And having somebody else in that role would not work as well, in my opinion.
I agree.
It could. It'll just be different.
I have 3 other podcast ideas other than this that I would want to do with the two of you.
Oh, good.
So, maybe, again, we're talking about Atlas Balked now, and that's where we wanted to get to. But, off the air, we'll talk about some of this other stuff, and maybe that'll end up being the decision, right? Maybe we end up putting effort into some other stuff. Maybe we get on here, every so often to do this to just talk bullshit about the league,
or a post-draft episode, and then a monthly episode, or when something significant happens and hey, we got to get on there and record this and update people.
Well, I would just say that if we do continue this, that we have to be into it wholeheartedly. Otherwise, it's just going to be a waste of time.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Right. Honestly, I enjoyed all of the aspects of the show. I really did. Enjoyed
Me too.
Doing them, listening to them, creating. I did some I enjoyed all of it. I know now that I'm gonna end up in the mindset that I'm going to burn myself out by trying to do everything and keep it going the way it is. So the only way I'm going to enjoy it is to scale it back and go back. And if that works for you guys, which it seems like it does,
it seems reasonable.
It survives, it stays alive. And some of these other projects that that I have been talking about Tim, some of them include Atlas Balked possibly as a in the future that a possible marrying situation. So there's various
like a
things.
Crossover.
Yeah.
Like when Facts of Life and Different Strokes crossed over.
Almost exactly.
Very special, different strokes.
Yeah. Well, it seems a lot like Mrs. Garrett. Now that I think of it.
And with that, so anything else that you guys got? I know there's other stuff out there, and we'll get back on. We will continue to record again, kind of focusing a little bit more, like I said, on the league. We got the draft coming up. We can
talk about the Stros then.
Have we decided when it's When is the draft?
We haven't exactly.
You just spring it on us the day of, like you did last year.
I think that worked really well, though.
That worked well for Tim.
Well, I was going to say Tim got Gavin Lux out of it, which is what he wanted in the first place.
Exactly. So it looks like we just discussed it, me and him actually, and it looks like the 20th is a possibility.
Of February or of March?
Of March, sorry.
What day?
The 20th, I think, is a
Friday?
Saturday, Sunday.
21st?
All right, I'm writing this down.
It would have to be in the afternoon. Well, I guess it would have to be in the afternoon for Tim anyway.
Well, the thing is, again, maybe the 21st.
Actually, no, I have a charity thing. I'm not kidding. I have a charity thing that I'm doing that morning from like 9 to 1.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
And with mothers,
So we'll start.
Farm share.
We'll do it through text. I think that works best.
What's a farm share?
It's local farmers who have excess produce and vegetables that they, probably because of their subsidies, they're not going to take to market. So I've partnered with them with my school, and they're going to come and set up like basically a free farmers market for the
that's awesome.
For the folks who are underprivileged to come and get fresh fruit and vegetables.
No shit.
Yeah, it's true. See, listeners, I'm a nice person. I just play a new person.
Or you just...
I thought my friends realized that, but I guess not.
Further the aims of big government by letting them keep their subsidies.
No, I agree. I'm anti-subsidy, but I'm also pro people who need food. So,
well, who's anti people who need food? That would be everybody.
You, Joe.
Yeah,
and Tim.
I need food.
Yeah.
I remember.
Jack,
if Tim were here, he could comment on it. No, if Tim were here, he could comment on it. But since he's not, I will say that I do remember him many times talking about how he was anti-helping people who need it. I'm just saying.
Jesus, this is exactly why he's not here anymore.
I see a future pattern.
I'm just saying.
So, seriously, and all of that said, in all reality,
Tim, go ahead.
I know I busted your stones a little bit. GK is my favorite character on the show. So, but I am pretty fucked up. So you got to keep that in mind as well. So I am going to give Tim the opportunity to rebut, to record, to come back on if he desires. I'm sure I'm guessing he won't. There's no reason.
Like the opposing party after the State of the Union speech?
Just so he has again, I doubt he'll even bother. I don't think we have charts. I don't think we matter enough for him to come on but I'll give him the opportunity.
Stop it. Now you guys are being ridiculous.
If you speak to Tim, Jack, give him my best.
Tim, we love you. We miss you.
Tell him I'm sorry about Tom Brady going to Oakland.
Obviously, Tim is still going to be the commissioner of the league.
Well, I'm sorry, Tim.
All right. Well,
Jack, if you speak to Tim, give him my best wishes.
Balkers, again, sorry for the hiatus. Sorry for the.
You don't owe anybody an apology, Jack. Thank you.
the disorganized show here. Sorry, you're not.
What do you need, a tissue or something?
No, I'm fine.
I will say that
I have no heart.
It's not going to be the same as it was, but it's going to be better than this show. So, but I just felt a need to put this out, to record, to get over the hump, so to speak. Again, a lot of this stuff we've done in the background. We decided to do it out there for you guys, so you know what's going on, at least somewhat. So, so that's the plan. Atlas Balked will continue. We will be back.
Yes.
Like
MacArthur.
Guys, any parting thoughts, gentlemen?
I wish I could edit, because you were like, it won't be like this, but it will be better than this episode. I would just cut it off after it will be better.
Joe?
I have nothing to say.
Come on, Joe.
I'm actually curious.
We're going back to 6 o'clock at night sessions so Joe can drink. He's a lot more fun to drink.
That is a possibility. That's something else to consider. I know we're going to talk about, but we'll talk about off the air. But we're
boozy, slightly dangerous, Joe.
It would be nice to have my Sunday morning breakfast back.
Oh,
what happened to your Sunday morning breakfast?
I do this.
Oh,
I'm taking my wife to breakfast.
Wow. Where's your go-to place, Joe?
It's called the Daybreak Diner.
Nice.
Cha-ching.
Sponsor.
Yep.
Why is your name so Loyal Parter?
Oh, partner, it should say. I'm not a good speller, but
Did
I
you say you had a writing project?
Yeah, I do. But I have spell check.
It doesn't work on your computer.
I guess when I wrote parter, I guess I was thinking of Tim subconsciously.
Well, I was wondering if it was that, or if it was meant to be partier or partner.
No, partner, loyal partner.
All right. Well, I will. I'll get this thing together and out as soon as possible. You guys have waited this long, so you could probably wait a little longer. Again,
You know what GK stands for?
what does
Genuinely kind.
Aw. Take care, Balkers.